Good afternoon, everybody. I'm the psychic advisor for Venturing Mystic and a healer. Patty and I are here to talk about calling things forth that you don't know what they are. And I'm going to, first of all, talk about things that I've been seeing lately. I know it sounds like I'm crazy walking around. I don't know if other mediums are seeing them, but I am. I've seen a whole circle of black figures with glowing eyes. I saw something what I call an energy sucker. It was down towards the transformer, and it was just like pulling energy out. It was like dripping through its fingers, and it had these two little ones with it. But the more I see them, the more they grow. I have seen, and I don't fear it. I don't think it's anything scary. A woman, she's like, you ever see the birds in the sky? Yeah, a whole bunch of shallows, and they'll make a big circle, and they'll make images in the sky. It's like that. And it goes across my dining room, gets right in front of the American flag, and then it stops short, and it turns around and goes right out the back door. So I think people are unintentionally calling out for help or for vengeance, and they don't know what they're doing. So I want to pass you over to Heidi, and she's going to explain a little bit about this to you.
When Jane and I were talking about it a couple of days ago, I had mentioned to Jane that the energy around the whole area was felt off for about 2 weeks. Now, Jane and I don't talk every single day because we have things that we need to get done business-wise, personally, but we don't need to talk every single day. But I did say past 2 weeks, the energy's been really strange. When I say that, that's when she had mentioned all of the dark figures that she has seen and how she has felt people calling up spirits or calling up energies when they are themselves most anxious or in a chaotic mood, or if they are angry. And you want to be careful when you do that, because when you're calling up any kind of energy, you could be calling up something that could be just as dangerous to you as it is to the environment. People will ask us, how do we know these things? How do we see these things? You could be just talking in riddles. And someone who can see the spirits, such as Jane, with the talent that she's not guessing, she's going upon experiences that we have dealt with ourselves. She perceives the energy the same way as a profiler would. That's how Jane receives her images, and her senses is from what she gets from the energy that's out there. It probably sounds really roundabout, but that's the best way that I can explain it. She is a profiler and she reads the energy. She also does get visualization. So she gets a 1-2 punch in feeling the energy, plus she sees what's out there that is going on. Some of the stuff she did said is not really bad, but some of it has such a pull on the environment that other people are being drawn into it as well. Some of the people that are being drawn into it don't have really good intentions. When I have done videos with you before and I say I'm spellcaster and I'm doing this, and I tell you all about the intentions. When we have chaotic intentions or we have bad intentions and you pull up for something, especially if you don't know the name of what you're pulling up and you're just pulling up an energy because you feel mad because something bad has happened, or you have been in a relationship that has been dissolved and you want to do harm or damage, you call up a spirit that you don't know the name of. You're not just calling up a spirit of chaos. You're calling up spirits of chaos that are going to do damage to you more than they are going to be doing damage to anybody else that you have negativity towards. So the energy, even if you call up someone that is a bad kind of spirit and you know what they can do, you have to remember they don't work for you. They don't work for me. The language of universal law does not work in a negative fashion. That's what all of you are doing, are calling up negative energies, a chaos, because your whole inside is chaotic. You are doing something that's going to damage more to you than it is to anybody else. Universal law works on grounding. It works on support. It works on stability. It responds to free will. When you call up something that you want damage to do to someone else, it's not going to do the damage to someone else. It's going to influence your energy more than it is to the person that you want to do damage more to. Again, I apologize if this sounds roundabout. We have gone over trying to explain it so that it doesn't sound so confusing or so scary, but you have to be careful when you call up something and you want to damage somebody and you call up a spirit on chaotically, that's what you're going to get. On the flip side of that coin, if you want to do damage to someone and you've already grounded yourself and you're very calm, it's still going to work the same way. The damage is going to come to haunt you more than it is to anybody else because, again, universal law works on free will. You can't call up a goddess or a spirit or a deity and say, I want you to do this, or this is what my intention is. Go forth and do it. It doesn't work that way because universal law steps in and says, that's not the way it works. So you're damaging yourself more than you are anything else that you want to have taken down because of your angst, anxiety, and your chaos. I think that Jane had wanted to make an example of what we had to deal with actually this week, which is another reason why we put out this video. So I'm going to turn it back over to Jane and have her set it up for you so that you step by step what we went through to help a kind of damaged spirit that needed to go back home.
On Tuesday, Heidi and I, we usually do a weekly call, sometimes twice a week, sometimes videos, but we usually check in once a week. We were checking in on Tuesday morning, and she asked me how things were going. And I had been seeing two different visions. One was a young girl. She's very angry. She's in her bedroom. She's very angry. She's doing something on her dresser. And I think it was a spell or something, but I wasn't sure. That's why I had to bring Heidi in because she's known more about that than I do. And it's like she was asking for someone to do harm because she was saying how she recently broke up with her boyfriend and now he has found another girl. And she was very angry and jealous and throwing things off her dresser. And then the second vision I saw, which was a large wolf, which related, it was very scary looking. And later we determined it was a werewolf. And it was pacing back and forth across northern USA, from one coast to the other, pacing. And it seemed so angry. And then it would show himself with his mouth on a person's neck. And he would hold it like that, but he wouldn't bite down or anything. And then he'd pull up and he'd shake his head and then he'd start pacing again. He kept repeating it. So Heidi and I do it too, because she's an empath. So she helped me decode it. And we realized actually that these two visions were connected. When people pass over, you don't just pass over and go someplace and get put on a shelf. They're evil. You go on the evil shelf and you go on the good shelf. You do get a chance to redeem yourself. Because I have had a contact with another person that passed over. And from what I've been told and what I've seen and what I've got told by spirit was, if you choose to redeem yourself, you can. And sometimes you're not aware that you're being evil, being mean, or being cruel. And that sounds weird, you don't know how much damage you're doing to somebody else. None of us does. And so what they do is they show you to watch your life in the video. And then you have to compensate, or you have to make redemption for everything you've done. Make it up. So this person that used to be this type of person that she inadvertently called up was no longer like that. So he could not harm the person she wanted harmed. So she was being frustrated because nothing was being done. And he was being frustrated because it wasn't he. It took the shape of a werewolf. He just wanted to go back to where he had passed. He kept saying, I want to go back to my bones. I want to rest. I want to be in peace. So Heidi and I had to dismantle everything. And I'm going to pass you back over to Heidi so she can explain what I said. Because when I get visions, I can usually interpret them. But sometimes when they involve spells or stuff, that's not my forte.
When we figured out what it actually was and we had to decipher, that doesn't look like what you're talking about. That doesn't look, when she came upon the werewolf itself and what it was and the blood that's dripping, that was really detailed, oriented that this person wanted harm done to someone else. Even if you're calling over a spirit without a name, the emotional state that you're in is just an invitation, but it doesn't mean, as Jane had mentioned, that they're going to do what you want to do. In figuring out that this poor soul needed to just go back home into its bones, realizing that it wasn't so angry with Jane and myself for figuring out who it was just angry because it had already done what it needed to do, and now it was woken up from its rest, and we had to send it back to its home and its bones, quote unquote. I need to go home. I need to go back to my bones. We needed to do a process. We needed to do a protection for him. And we needed to literally cut the tie between the woman and the soul that needed to go home. It's detailed, won't go into it, but it took us a while to soften up the trends or the tendrils that was attaching to both the female and the wolf, and just break them so that she is still in her own chaos today, as Jane has just told me. But the wolf is now back into its cave, back home in its bones, and we've already put a protection around its area so she can no longer call this creature up or this individual soul. Doesn't mean that she's not going to try to do it again with something else. It's just that for the past 2 weeks, the energy was brought to our attention, and I had to say to Jane, what is this? Because for the past 2 weeks, it's just been on my mind, and there's no sleep happening. It's just uncomfortable. Let's try to figure it out. What is it that you're getting? And that's when Jane and I collaborated and realized that this woman and this wolf were two entities that were connected, and we needed to separate them. She's still angry because she's still dealing with the energy of the chaos, and she cannot move on at the moment.
Unfortunately, no. After we had sent the gentleman back, and the reason he took the shape of a werewolf, which this is my belief, this isn't nothing behind it. I think that she was visualizing a wolf or something hurting her previous boyfriend. And I think that's why it was projecting it to me. As I was seeing him in that form. But he is back with his bones in his human form, resting, he's in peace. But after we did everything, and when Heidi and I hung up, I sat for a second and meditated to get myself together. I kept seeing her. She's in her bedroom. She's throwing things. She's clearing off her dresses. She's screaming. I just visualized myself backing out of the room. I shut the door, and I put a key in the lock, and I locked it. Because as far as I'm concerned right now, I am done with that. I have sent him back home. We have broken the tendrils between him and her. And I'm not saying she might not try something else or do something else, but that situation is done. It's put to bed. And I wanted to give one warning, and I think Heidi will back me up on this. When you call something up, you don't know what you're calling up unless you give it a specific name. Because you could call the big guy up from the wrong place. And if you do that, some of these things that you can call up, you're going to think you'll control them, but you don't control them. They will take over you. They can possess you. You think they'll make deals with you. I'll do that for you. I'll make that person fall down a set of steps. But you're going to give me tenfold in return. And it's not going to be good stuff. So you really don't want to do that.
And honestly, everyone, even if you do know what you're doing and you're calling it up in chaos, again, in a calm, grounded way, you're not going to get what you are expecting. Some people will disagree with me on that, but I have to stay steadfast because you're not calling up something. You are not calling up a deity, a god, or another soul, which he's done, but you're calling up the energy that you are projecting. So you're projecting chaos. You didn't give it a name. So anything in chaos is going to come to you. That poor person just got in the way of her energy, and it was summoned very strongly. But you call up something that is peaceful, and you're grounded, and you are asking for guidance. That's when universal law steps in and say, you're asking for guidance, you're asking for peace, you're asking for simplicity in your life. We'll guide you, we'll give you signs. And universal law is something that's already out there. So you could look this up, and other traditions call it natural law, cosmic order, divine order, the web of life, the Tao. You have good intentions. This is what's going to work with you. If you're flipping on the other side of the coin where evil and chaos and destruction is the name of the game, it's not going to work for you. They're not going to come and say, give me your list of people and I'm going to do for you. It doesn't work that way.
You can call them, you can say out loud, Lord, help me get through this, help me do this. Or if you have someone that's passed, you're very close to, they can still hear you, they can still feel you. Just say, Bill or Joe or Mom, Dad, please help me. Send me a sign to make me know that I'm not alone going through this. A red cardinal, a feather, coin, something to show something that's known to you and them. And show me this to let me know that I'm not going through this alone. And you got to ask them for something for yourself. If you send it out to somebody else, bad things out, there's karma. And it's going to reflect back on you. It's going to be on your soul. You're going to have to say, I made this person fall down. I made this person bleed. I made this person. And it's going to be, the guilt is going to be on you whether you know it or not. It's always going to be in your head that I did this verse, this thing, and I wish this on that person. And this XYZ happened. And you're going to have to bear the brunt of that too. That's called karma.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to think, oh, I'm not going to care if they get hurt. You are. You're going to say, and then on that, you can get a taste for it. You can say, oh, I hurt this person, and now I don't like that person, so now I love that person. And it's totally turns your personality around. So please be careful and please be safe.
Exactly. And trying to diffuse someone who wants to call spirits from anger, just let them know that their anger and their rage and their fear, we don't need to shame anybody. We just need to say that their feelings make sense. We hear you. This is nothing that is bad. We understand that you're upset. There's just a different way of putting it into action. How can we make that person feel better? If we can't change a situation in their life, how do we make something better for them? Whether it's talking this out, therapy, getting them into an environment that is more soothing to their emotional stability. Nothing is bad when you're trying to help someone redirect a negative energy or a negative feeling. Spirits aren't going to respond with clarity if you have chaos and destruction all around you. They are not going to be bringing up the entity that you want that's going to work for you. You're just going to get what's going to come at you, and you have no idea. Even if you bring it up with the name, that's still not the entity that you're going to get, because again, universal law steps in and says, you either do it right or you don't do it at all, and you're going to get what you're given, so to speak.
Yes, and even like if you call it a particular thing, it might take the form of it, but it might be something else.
100% true.
Heidi taught me that the other day. Insisting that it was a werewolf, and she was saying, no, that's what's being projected.
Exactly. And that's the thing. And the only reason why we know this is Jane and I have already encountered situations that are similar to this. And we saw it as one thing because this is what was projected to Jane. And then we just had to break it down further and further. And this one, thank goodness we got it. We got it faster than we did the other one. But both situations came out very well at the end. So we were lucky.
And one of the ones that we had done in the past actually came forward to help us. We call her the queen now. She used to be this little manifestation in the corner somewhere that was not, we call Heidi horrible names. And now, since we helped her and put her where she is and she's at peace, she actually came through and helped us detect around what this is. So we thank the queen.
We totally thanked her, and she's back being very happy. And she says, oh, yeah, see you later. It's great. Thank you. And we have these relationships with the spirit, and we're very lucky for that. And again, you don't have to believe. Jane and I know what we are able and capable of doing, and we will do it. We just keep informing everyone that we just all need to be careful out there. Your life should revolve around you and not anyone else, and being positive and peaceful in your own environment and in your own life. That is what we want to stress for all of you.
And that is the purpose that we started the other channel that we have called Calm Amidst the Chaos. It's to get you, your home should be peace. It should be your sanctuary. Thank you, Heidi. And that's why we wanted to not just give you all the bad stuff. We wanted to be able to say, oh, this is what you can do to make it comfortable for yourself. We discuss all kinds of things, but yes. And like I said, whether you believe it or not, I doubted myself for a long time. I used to just say, I know things. I didn't realize that it was actually Heidi to help me once again to understand. And I always call Heidi and say, oh, sometimes I hate when I'm wrong. I know something bad's going to happen, and I say, this is going to happen, and then I was right. I love it when it's something beautiful, but that doesn't happen all the time. I have to take the good with the bad.
Right. And we've learned also, as our motto has taught us, control what you can control, let go of what you can't, and then understand not everyone's energy belongs to you, to us, to Jane and Heidi. So we have learned to be able to live our lives better because we're not taking on everyone's energy that doesn't belong to us. We help whom we can. We help who wants the help. And then afterwards, their energy is their own to control because we don't live their lives and they don't live ours.
It is. You don't want to go through having to have horrible thoughts and give yourself high blood pressure and also because you want to do harm to somebody. And just don't wish them any harm. Don't wish them anything.
No, not at all. No.
Not acknowledge them, not even see them, say hello and keep going. Her mother used to say something. She'd say, you don't say hello. You nod your head and use their name. Like you say, oh, Jane. In other words, you're acknowledging them, but you're not saying hi. I'm not wishing you a good day. I'm not asking how you are. I'm just acknowledge them and keep moving. They're not worth your health or your time if they harm you.
100%. All right.
So I hope this is helpful. You all have a good evening and God bless.
All right, everyone, take it easy and we will talk to you soon. Bye.